specialist, policy advocate, and writer. I bring you warm greetings from Ekiti State, the land of honor, where I'm the First Lady and have been engaged for quite a number of years now on a number of initiatives to mitigate sexual and gender-based violence. I thank the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association for inviting me to address this year's conference. I am humbled and thankful for the opportunity. Every day, we open our newspapers and we read about a woman or girl who has been sexually abused. Gender-based violence is no respecter of age, class, or educational background. Why should we care about violence against women and children? We should care. We should care because it destroys lives, it destroys families, it devastates communities. It diminishes the capacity of women to fulfill their full potential. It also affects our economy. Women who are victims of violent sexual crimes are afraid to report for fear of stigma, blame, and rejection. As is the case in many other parts of the world, when the cases are reported, the victims are put through so much and it takes such an effort to get a conviction. The process leaves the victims feeling assaulted all over again. When there is no justice, they do not get closure, and the healing process takes so much longer. With no sanctions for violent sexual assaults, a culture of impunity continues to thrive. And that is why today, here in Nigeria, we are faced with a sexual violence crisis of unprecedented proportions. And the recent COVID-19 lockdowns have exacerbated a condition that has already been extremely problematic for some time. Patriarchal norms and values, which fuel a sense of entitlement to women's bodies, violent conflict, kidnappings, drug abuse, poverty, juvenile access to pornography, cultism, and several other factors all drive sexual and gender-based violence in our communities. I would like to talk to you all about the critical importance of political will in ensuring that legal and policy frameworks mean something in the lives of ordinary people. And I will share some of the work that we have been doing in that regard in Ekiti State. The administration of my husband, His Excellency Dr. Kade Fayemi, Governor of Ekiti State, takes gender-based violence very seriously. Ekiti State has a comprehensive gender-based violence law, which makes provision for a multi-sectoral and interagency GBV management committee to monitor the implementation of the law, and I chair that committee. I'm pleased to say that over the past year, the Ekiti State Gender-Based Violence Management Committee, which is a coordinating mechanism in Ekiti State for GBV issues, has been able to achieve a number of things, and I'll mention just a few. First of all, we were able to see the speedy passage of the revised Ekiti State GBV law, October 2019. By harmonizing the previous Ekiti GBV law of 2011 with the 2015 Federal Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, known as the VAP Act, Ekiti State now has a much stronger GBV law. Another thing we've been able to accomplish is the passing of the Compulsory Treatment and Care for Sexually Abused Minors Law of 2020, the first of its kind in Nigeria. This legislation was signed into law by His Excellency the Governor on the 5th of June 2020. Another accomplishment that we are proud of at the Ekiti State Gender-Based Violence Management Committee is that through the Office of our Attorney General, the Sex Offenders Register of 2013 was reactivated in 2019. In addition, Ekiti State now has a name and shame policy, which publishes the names and photographs of convicted sex offenders in Ekiti State. At this point, I would like to pay tribute to our Attorney General in Ekiti State, Honorable Wale Fakponda, who I usually describe as the best Attorney General in Nigeria. We thank him for his passion, we thank him for his dedication in ensuring that we have many of these laws and policies in place. The Attorney General has also introduced what is called a Victims Charter, which outlines the rights and victims of survivors of GBV in Ekiti State. We also have a range of services in place in Ekiti to respond to survivors of gender-based violence, such as a state shelter where we can look after women in distress and their children on a temporary basis. And recently, we opened the Moremi Clinic, which is a sexual assault referral center. It was opened on the 23rd of June, and it is a one-stop free clinic for GBV survivors across Ekiti State. We also have a Survivors Fund, which again is the first of its kind in Nigeria, and our GBV law makes provision for this fund. And since the establishment of this fund, we have managed to support at least 155 women with various initiatives to ensure that they can rebuild their lives. Examples of these initiatives include assistance with renting accommodation, payment of school fees, and other needs as determined by the survivors themselves. During the COVID-19 lockdowns, all our GBV frontline responders in Ekiti State managed to support women. It was during that time. They managed to support them with medical attention, with provision of shelter, with legal aid and food palliatives. I'm also pleased to note that our coordinating mechanism for GBV issues in the state has been supported very robustly by a network of NGOs who provide frontline services on GBV issues in the state. Most of them are members of the GBV committee, and they work in partnership to ensure effective service delivery on GBV issues in the state. In addition to what I do in Ekiti State as the First Lady, I'm also the chair of the Nigerian Governors' Wives Against Gender-Based Violence Working Group. This is a group that was established in June 2020. It is a working group of 21 governors' wives from across the country, from all zones. And we decided to come together to address how we could tackle GBV issues in our respective states. Like most Nigerians, governors' wives have been concerned about the spike in cases of sexual and gender-based violence, particularly during the COVID-19 lockdowns. We also managed to influence the declaration of a state of emergency by the Nigerian Governors Forum in June 2020. And since the governors declared this state of emergency, we have seen a change in terms of political will. Our governors in their different states have been working very hard to ensure that they treat GBV issues very seriously. So, for example, since the declaration of the state of emergency, the VAP Act has been passed in Bauchi State and Akwa Ibom States, and we know that other states are still working on the legislation, and they will be passed before the end of the year. I would like to call on all members of the NBA to intensify efforts in combating sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria as a body and as individual members. Please let us join hands to ensure that we have adequate legal and policy frameworks in place at state and national level, and that the much-needed political will and accountability to make these instruments work is in place. It is important that we center our anti-GBV efforts on the needs of survivors and not on protecting perpetrators. While suspects are entitled to a defense, you are all lawyers, so that's your job, you have to defend suspects. We believe that any actions that shame, intimidate, or silence GBV survivors must be seriously frowned upon. We should criminalize perpetrators of violence, not the survivors. I salute the NBA for creating space for women within the organization to allow them to work together and to express themselves. I thank all the female lawyers who are at the forefront of providing much needed support and services to GBV survivors, particularly through organizations such as FIDA. Nigerian citizens, especially women and children, are counting on your leadership. These spaces are an effective training and mentoring ground for the kind of leaders we need in the country. We need more women in politics and decision-making at all levels, and I hope some of you will take this up at some point. I know that as men and women of the law, you are bound by the limitations of your profession, and there are certain things that you can do or you can't do or you won't do. However, I want you all to be passionate about sexual and gender-based violence. I want you to have a sense of outrage and a yearning for urgent action and change. Together, we can make this country safe. Let us all be determined that we will not allow a culture of sexual violence, abuse, and exploitation to consume the lives of half of our population. We cannot afford to descend into a society where no woman or girl is free or safe enough to walk the streets. Please let us work together. Let us end this pandemic. Thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to address you. Thank you for listening, and God bless.
Accusing judges of being timid.
This conference affords us the opportunity to review how we operate.
We should not toy with the independence of the judiciary.
With well over 12,000 delegates in this conference, this is by far the largest gathering of lawyers on the continent of Africa.
Dear learned colleagues, as we overcome these trying times and settle down to a new normal, Law Pavilion celebrates the resilience of our esteemed clients. We have unveiled a new ecosystem of legal service delivery in Nigeria, so you can harness the silver lining of opportunities that lie within this crisis. Introducing the new Law Pavilion Prime 5.0, now available online for mobile phone users, fortified with court forms from all jurisdictions with pre-filled sampled forms, AI-assisted document review system, Microsoft Word plugin that enhances your legal drafting advantage right within your Microsoft Word. Manage your law firm remotely with our case management system. One more thing, get access to millions of potential clients through our new industry-leading Lawyers and Law Firms directory. Experience the new normal in legal service delivery today. Visit www.lawpavilion.com/experience.
Hello, it's that time of the year again.
And we at Solo & Co are here for you.
What's more interesting is you can order in several ways. You can come to one of our stores in Abuja, 40 Dublin Street, Wuse 2, or in Lagos at the Law School campus or at Landmark Tower. You can also go online www.solohan.com.ng and place your order there. There's a wide range of products. All our products are there. You can order from there or hit us a DM on Instagram or message us on WhatsApp.
When you order any of our products, we deliver to you within 2 to 4 working days. Or you can as well pick up at our head office in Abuja.
When you buy any of our products, we give you a complimentary photo shoot. We're saving you the time and the hassle of going helter-skelter trying to find a photographer. We have the best for you. Shop at Solohan.
COVID-19, economies are being reset. And the true definition of wealth is now an intangible intellectual property. The required innovations for restarting the economy and governance rely on the maintenance of rule of law through equal and efficient access to justice. Law Pavilion, in partnership with Telnet, presents the following innovative solutions, redefining a new ecosystem for justice delivery in Nigeria. Law Rights. This is a mobile application that displaces the old practice of consulting family and friends first for legal advice by making all necessary information available anytime, anywhere. You don't only get to know your rights, you can easily report a violation or consult a lawyer in a jiffy, among other things. The Law Rights app, in conjunction with the Case Manager Assured, provides the lawyer advanced tools to properly manage his clients, briefs, tasks, and entire law firm. The Case Manager Assured integrates with the Law Pavilion Prime, an online repository of case laws, regulations, precedents, forms and agreements, and rules of court. This makes it possible to achieve so much in so little time. It is the reliable legal research companion. Now it also boasts of e-laws of Lagos State, as well as legal textbooks and journals. It's a complete e-library for today's lawyer. E-registry removes the stress involved in filing a matter in court registries, as this can now be done seamlessly from anywhere, anytime. Court Manager Assured automatically captures documents from the e-registry and helps judges monitor progress of matters from a single dashboard. Oh, one more thing. The Court Manager Assured uses artificial intelligence to help judges review lawyer submissions and documents, making administration of justice easier, faster, and much more efficient. Now that's the new ecosystem of legal service delivery. Visit www.lawpavilion.com/experience.
gives me great pleasure to give this message to our association on the 60th anniversary. So I've been told, but I have my own correction on that. I think we've come a long way. And at the same time, we've made great strides. Some things we've done very well and we've improved. Some things we have scored below pass mark. But then, that is life. You know, you expect up and down. This new executive, I hope they will bring us upstream to be where we should be at this time in creation, because now is the time of the youth. So I can only wish them the very best of luck and hope they will build on the good lessons of the past. For the annual conference about to commence, I wish everybody good deliberation and a happy time.
I would like
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, a huge welcome to the NBA Women's Forum session on the equality gap, changing the status quo against stereotypes in the legal profession. My name is Dr. Nkiru Balong, and I'm very pleased to be here. And before we go into the session, we have a wonderful surprise for you. And I'm going to hand over the microphone to Professor Bamboshe to tell us more about the surprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Nkiru. In a profession where the intellectual prowess of women is yet to be fully acknowledged and accepted as a tool for social development, only a handful of the male gender encourage and support women in the society. Paul Usoro, SAN, a distinguished gentleman, the 29th president of the Nigerian Bar Association, who has a few days left in office, is one of the supportive males. That was quoted in the Business Day, April 2018. Paul Usoro, SAN, represents a true manifestation of the modern-day advocacy on gender equality. To the Learned Silk and the 2018 to 2020 MBA president, there are dividends when women are empowered and occupy positions of authority. Hear him again. Women have the potentials to drive society changes if only they're given the ample opportunity. In March 2020, Paul Usoro joined the millions of people from all over the world to celebrate women on the International Women's Day. And hear what he said. Society indeed owes our women plenty, and we must do more to promote gender equality, gender empowerment, and gender equity in the various facets of our lives. End of quote. The Learned Silk, an outgoing president, is not only a preacher of women emancipation in governance, he shows it by example. You want to ask me how? I'll tell you. In 2019, during the MBA conference, for the very first time, this male champion moved women from being only prominent in sessions where women issues are raised and heard to main plenary sessions where national issues were debated. There is no doubt that this is groundbreaking. Mr. President promoted female inclusion and gender equality in all bar activities. He appointed females in external board. He put forward women and nominated them to represent the bar at both state and national levels. This has resulted in the fact that for the very first time, there is a significant number of women in political appointments. The resuscitation of the hitherto comatose MBA Women Forum in September 2019 and the full support for the forum and to the forum to the extent that the MBAWF is now standing tall amongst the sections and fora is very laudable. This has enabled the empowerment of many female lawyers in Nigeria, resulting in remarkable achievements. A female became the General Secretary of the MBA at the last election in June after almost 40 years. Another female became the first female vice chairman in the Ibadan branch, MBA Ibadan branch, after 66 years. It is the vision of the MBA Women Forum to address matters of interest to female lawyers, make female lawyers an influential voice in the society, and encourage female lawyers to have a global outlook, perspective, and reach. This icon of gender parity has enabled the forum achieve all this. With all this and more, the time will not permit me to mention the executive and council members and thousands of vibrant female lawyers have unanimously agreed to give Paul Usoro SAN, the 29th president of the Nigerian Bar Association, an icon of gender parity, an advocate for gender inclusion, the award, Ambassador of Women's Rights Award, in recognition of his exemplary leadership and dedication towards empowering female lawyers for success. Nigerian female lawyers, please celebrate Paul Usoro SAN. Mr. President, the icon of gender parity, the advocate of gender inclusion, we celebrate you. Women lawyers in Nigeria celebrate you. The ambassador of women's rights, recognition given to you. You are celebrated. Thank you. I'll now call on Professor Joy Ezelo, who is coming in virtually. She's the Dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and a distinguished council member of the Nigerian Bar Association Women Forum, with so many other titles in the UN and many others, to join me in presenting this award to Mr. President. Joy Ezelo. Well, if we cannot connect to Joy now, I'll do the presentation. Mr. President, the we are waiting for Professor Joy Ezelo, Dean, Faculty of Law, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a distinguished member of Council, one of our foremost gender advocates. She's representing us at the United Nations. She's one of those foremost people who will speak up. Joy Ezelo, OON. If Joy cannot be connected because of the IT technical issue, Mr. President, the Nigerian Bar Association Women Forum presents Ambassador of Women's Rights Award to you, Mr. Paul Usoro, SAN, President, Nigerian Bar Association, 2018 to 2020. In recognition of your exemplary leadership and dedication towards empowering female lawyers for success, this 27th day of August 2020. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Well, we'll give Mr. President the floor to make a few remarks.
Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually overwhelmed by this award. This was not an award that I was expecting. I believe that what I have done is what I ought to have done, what indeed ought to have been done even before my time. And that is to resuscitate the Women's Forum of the Nigerian Bar Association. I feel proud, though, that I did play a significant role in bringing that association or that forum back to life. It is one of the 2 active forums of the Nigerian Bar Association, and I feel particularly proud of the developments and the milestones that this forum has achieved under the leadership of Professor Oluyemisi Bamgbose, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. It's interesting that I have been named an ambassador of women's rights, because that's kind of suggests that I have to be going out and doing the role, playing the role of an ambassador. But my chairperson, I want to say that I'm also very happy having to be an internal ambassador. In other words, to be working with the forum and in whatever capacity or whatever that the forum might want me to help them on, I would be very available.
Thank you.
In other words, my role does not necessarily have to be limited to being an external representative. I am also very happy to work with the women in whatever programs that you would do. If I had the time, I would actually talk about why this is very important. But suffice for me to say that this is one of the critical, foundational forum for the Nigerian Bar Association. It is actually a forum that, if well developed, and I am happy that I have a very able and competent hand to develop it, if well developed, it becomes something of a cornerstone, not only for the association as a whole, but really for Nigeria. don't forget, in our native land, we have the saying that if you bring up a woman, you bring up a community, a village. And that is representative of the role that women play in development generally. And if we help in our own little way in having to bring up the women, then we are also in our own way helping to develop a community. And I wish the Women's Forum very, very well. I would not be president of the Nigerian Bar Association in another couple of hours, but my role as an ambassador and as a servant of the forum, in any way that you might wish me to be, will continue well beyond my office. I also want to express appreciation not only to my very able and competent chairperson, whose appointments I feel absolutely proud and fulfilled that I had made, but I want to also extend my appreciation to those around the chairperson, and that includes the Executive Council and, of course, the Governing Council, made up of very critical and important, accomplished. And that was one of the things that I was looking for. I needed women of accomplishments, women of distinction, and I had them. And then, of course, your secretary, who has been exceptional in helping you to run the secretariat. Those are very critical persons that I must also acknowledge. And I thank you so much for making my tenure quite a success as far as this area is concerned and in other areas. And congratulations on your recent memorandum of understanding with the New York Bar. That by itself is very exceptional. It is something that I'm hoping you're going to develop. Your mentoring program, and I'm just mentioning some of the things that you have been doing. Mentoring program, that is something that a lot of women will benefit from. Incidentally, mentoring is not only for young ladies, it's for literally everyone. And I'm sure that the women folks will feel very satisfied.
Thank you.
Finally, thank you so very much, my chairperson. And please give my association to the Governing Council and to your EXCO. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Nkiru, please, I'll hand over to you. We are done with the ceremony. It's a good time to go into our topic, equality gap.
Accusing judges of being timid.
This conference affords us the opportunity to review how we operate.
We should not toy with the independence of the judiciary.
With well over 12,000 delegates in this conference, this is by far the largest gathering of lawyers on the continent of Africa.
Dear learned colleagues, as we overcome these trying times and settle down to a new normal, Law Pavilion celebrates the resilience of our esteemed clients. We have unveiled a new ecosystem of legal service delivery in Nigeria, so you can harness the silver lining of opportunities that lie within this crisis. Introducing the new Law Pavilion Prime 5.0, now available online for mobile phone users, fortified with court forms from all jurisdictions with pre-filled sampled forms, AI-assisted document review system, Microsoft Word plugin that enhances your legal drafting advantage right within your Microsoft Word. Manage your law firm remotely with our case management system. One more thing, get access to millions of potential clients through our new industry-leading Lawyers and Law Firms directory. Experience the new normal in legal service delivery today. Visit www.lawpavilion.com/experience.
Hello, it's that time of the year again.
And we at Solo and Co are here for you.
What's more interesting is you can order in several ways. You can come to one of our stores in Abuja, 40 Dublin Street, Wuse 2, or in Lagos at the Law School campus or at Landmark Tower. You can also go online www.solohan.com.ng and place your order there. There's a wide range of products. All our products are there. You can order from there or hit us a DM on Instagram or message us on WhatsApp.
When you order any of our products, we deliver to you within 2 to 4 working days. Or you can as well pick up at our head office in Abuja.
When you buy any of our products, we give you a complimentary photo shoot. We're saving you the time and the hassle of going helter-skelter trying to find a photographer. We have the best for you. Shop at Solohan.
Post-COVID-19, economies are being reset. And the true definition of wealth is now an intangible intellectual property. The required innovations for restarting the economy and governance rely on the maintenance of rule of law through equal and efficient access to justice. Law Pavilion, in partnership with Telnet, presents the following innovative solutions, redefining a new ecosystem for justice delivery in Nigeria. Law Rights. This is a mobile application that displaces the old practice of consulting family and friends first for legal advice by making all necessary information available anytime, anywhere. You don't only get to know your rights, you can easily report a violation or consult a lawyer in a jiffy, among other things. The Law Rights app, in conjunction with the Case Manager Assured, provides the lawyer advanced tools to properly manage his clients, briefs, tasks, and entire law firm. The Case Manager Assured integrates with the Law Pavilion Prime, an online repository of case laws, regulations, precedents, forms and agreements, and rules of court. This makes it possible to achieve so much in so little time. It is the reliable legal research companion. Now it also boasts of e-laws of Lagos State, as well as legal textbooks and journals. It's a complete e-library for today's lawyer. E-registry removes the stress involved in filing a matter in court registries, as this can now be done seamlessly from anywhere, anytime. Court Manager Assured automatically captures documents from the e-registry and helps judges monitor progress of matters from a single dashboard. Oh, one more thing. The Court Manager Assured uses artificial intelligence to help judges review lawyer submissions and documents, making administration of justice easier, faster, and much more efficient. Now that's the new ecosystem of legal service delivery. Visit www.lawpavilion.com/experience. experience.
My name is Olusegun Abimbola. I'm the chairman section on legal practice, and may I take a little bit of your time to inform you about one of the foremost publications we have in the field of legal practice in Nigeria, produced by the Nigerian Bar Association. And I'm speaking about the Nigerian Bar Association section on legal practice journal. This is both a professional and an academic publication of the section that speaks to various practice areas. The contributions and the papers that have been captured in these journals since inception have contributed immensely to the development of the law, to academic research, and to case management in firms, as well as the decisions of various superior courts. In this latest edition, which just came off the press last week in time for the NBA 2020 conference, we have articles that cover fields of criminal law, electoral law and practice, labor and employment law, telecommunications law, medical law, constitutional, administrative law, and several other fields. It's the 6th edition in the series. This is a duly accredited journal for academics, accredited journal and reference material, even for court advocates. I want to recommend this if you do not have it in your library, and you can also pick up the previous volumes from the NBA SLP Secretariat. You can place your order by calling Bonuade on 081 66 41 3698, 081 66 41 3698, or you can just send an email to info@mba-slp.org, info@mba-slp.org, and you can order a copy from the Secretariat. You can also discuss how they can ship it to you wherever you might be located. In view of the pandemic, this would have ordinarily been available to pick up at the conference venue, but being a virtual conference, you would have to place an order and it will be definitely shipped to you. I want to encourage everyone who is here not to miss this opportunity. You can go away with this and you can continue to build your library and build the level of intellectual contributions we make to our judgments in court as well as to academic papers. Thank you very much and have a wonderful conference.
Accusing judges of being timid.
This conference affords us the opportunity to review how we operate.
We should not toy with the independence of the judiciary.
With well over 12,000 delegates in this conference, this is by far the largest gathering of lawyers on the continent of Africa.
Dear learned colleagues, as we overcome these trying times and settle down to a new normal, Law Pavilion celebrates the resilience of our esteemed clients. We have unveiled a new ecosystem of legal service delivery in Nigeria, so you can harness the silver lining of opportunities that lie within this crisis. Introducing the new Law Pavilion Prime 5.0, now available online for mobile phone users, fortified with court forms from all jurisdictions with pre-filled sampled forms, AI-assisted document review system, Microsoft Word plugin that enhances your legal drafting advantage right within your Microsoft Word. Manage your law firm remotely with our case management system. One more thing, get access to millions of potential clients through our new industry-leading Lawyers and Law Firms directory. Experience the new normal in legal service delivery today. Visit www.lawpavilion.com/experience.
Hello, it's that time of the year again.
And we at Solo One & Co are here for you.
What's more interesting is you can order in several ways. You can come to one of our stores in Abuja, 40 Dublin Street, Wuse 2, or in Lagos at the Law School campus or at Landmark Tower. You can also go online www.solohan.com.ng and place your order there. There's a wide range of products. All our products are there. You can order from there or hit us a DM on Instagram or messages on WhatsApp.
When you order any of our products, we deliver to you within 2 to 4 working days. Or you can as well pick up at our head office in Abuja.
When you buy any of our products, we give you a complimentary photo shoot. We're saving you the time and the hassle of going helter-skelter trying to find a photographer. We have the best for you. Shop at Solohan.
Post-COVID-19, economies are being reset. And the true definition of wealth is now an intangible intellectual property. The required innovations for restarting the economy and governance rely on the maintenance of rule of law through equal and efficient access to justice. Law Pavilion, in partnership with Telnet, presents the following innovative solutions, redefining a new ecosystem for justice delivery in Nigeria. Law Rights. This is a mobile application that displaces the old practice of consulting.
Our next session, a stimulating exchange on the state of the nation. On the panel today is Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, GCON, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Also on the panel is Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, Speaker, Federal House of Representatives. And moderating this panel is Dr. Unduka Obaigbena, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, This Day Media Group. Thank you.
Yes, hello. We are welcome to the 60th anniversary of the Nigerian Bar Association Conference, and it's a privilege to discuss the state of the nation with the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, an eminent law professor, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. It's also a privilege to discuss the state of the nation with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. What is the state of the nation? The state of the nation today is under COVID-19. And for many, it's a new world. It's a new world emerging out there. And today, indeed, today, the 27th of August, marks the 6th month of the index case of COVID into Nigeria. So how have we fared as a country in managing the pandemic? Many say the pandemic has not had that devastating effect on Africa from perhaps the health angle. But the pandemic has indeed had major economic impact on Nigeria. Our key source of revenue, oil, is in shock. And it has affected the way we live our lives, the way we do business. It has affected education and affected a range of other issues. In responding, the government has put together the Economic Sustainability Plan headed by the Vice President. The National Assembly has put its own palliatives, as it were, and we are trying to cope. But in discussing the state of the nation, what is the state of the world? Where are we in the world? The world is in turmoil. There is the emerging Indo-American crisis, the US versus China. The world order, as we knew it, is no longer there. Europe is in crisis. South America is in crisis. Middle East continues to ravage. And everybody is trying to fit itself together. How do we respond? And what do we need to do as a nation to turn this pandemic or this crisis into opportunity, as the government said at the beginning? So my first question to the Right Honorable Professor Yemi Osinbajo is, have you succeeded in turning the pandemic, the COVID-19 crisis, into an opportunity for the people of Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nduka, thank you. And thank you very much also to the Bar Association, especially the leadership, for this honor of speaking to us all on the state of the nation. Regarding whether or not we have succeeded, I think it's too early, it's early days, to say whether we've succeeded in turning the pandemic into an opportunity. But I must say that the pandemic itself presents an opportunity. And we, as a government, have seen it as such, as an opportunity to do so many different things. First of all, even just in scaling up our medical response and our capacity to be able to respond to pandemics now in the future. As you know, we used to have 4 molecular laboratories. Now we have 64 molecular laboratories. We have now capacity for far more ICU beds. We have, I think, now something in the order of over 300 ICU beds and over several now, just in terms of other beds, bed space and hospital capacity. That is also considerably high today. But we've also, in terms of just improving capacity and improving our ability to respond, just on the medical side alone, you will see that, at a point, we were worried about just the capacity to provide oxygen. Now we have several facilities for oxygen, even oxygen production as in Nigeria. It means that today we are able to do much more, even with our capacities in the hospitals. We now have about, just bed capacity alone, 7,190 beds. We have about 20,000 health workers that have been trained on infection and control. We have over 4,000 now oxygen delivery equipment and accessories nationwide, and we've also been able to provide about a minimum of about ₦1 billion to each state just to improve their capacity. Lagos State alone had about 10 billion. So just in terms of improving medical capacity, a lot has happened. But then that's on the medical or the healthcare side. On the economic side, obviously, you've spoken about the economic sustainability plan, and this has provided, again, yet another opportunity of addressing some of the serious concerns that we have on the economy. I think for us as a government, one of the key worries that we had was more for how this would affect jobs and job production and job sustenance. And I think that what we saw was a problem, a very big problem, with the informal workers, and persons who have to work day to day for their survival. And what we tended to see there was that people like, just to take an example, tailors, artisans, caterers, event planners, decorators, makeup artists, hairdressers, barbers, tailors even for ashrebi, printers, souvenir dealers, people like that, obviously were in trouble. And we needed to address the concerns that they had, because these people rely on an ecosystem that had collapsed with the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's aside from big industries such as hospitality. Of course, occupancy rates in hotels fell, in some big hotels below 10%. Even hospitals, even private hospitals, experienced problems because people avoided private hospitals, same as aviation. And of course, we know all the problems associated with that. So we're concerned with saving those jobs, which is why we put in place what we've described as a survival fund, which will cater for artisans, 42,000 per state for a start, across the states. And that will be in the form of support for artisans. We also have a payroll support scheme, which will support persons, especially in private school teachers, for example, and then small businesses who employ up to and not more than about 50 persons. We also have some kind of support for them. At the moment, we're in the process, of compiling that data, and the criteria has been set already. That committee is headed by the Honorable Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, and the Vice Chair is Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, the chairperson of First Bank. So they are basically looking at the criteria for giving out this payroll support, and also for several of the other support schemes that we have. So by and large, we're tackling those issues. Of course, we're also looking at the bigger issues. How do we support aviation? How do we support the hospitality industry? And these are big areas where we're looking at support. Now, in the first place, you're probably aware that the CBN has already put in place several mechanisms for ensuring that loans that have been taken by companies and by some of these big enterprises in the sectors that I've just mentioned, that there is some succor for them in the form of restructuring of their loans, lower interest in some cases, in some moratorium is granted, and all of that. I'm just picking the headlines of some of these efforts. And of course, the Bank of Industry has also had to reduce interest rates in many cases and restructure facilities. So there is a wide range of issues. I'm sure we'll get to talk about them in some detail later on. But this is just to give you a broad, if you like, a broad framework of the kinds of efforts that are going on. And this is, of course, so I think I'll just hold on here so that I don't take on too much time. And I'm sure we might come back to these as we go along. Thank you.
Rising up to fighting the pandemic. But when we see the House of Representatives in a public hearing, it's about NDDC and people fainting. Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, can the legislative branch do more for the people of Nigeria, and how?
Yeah, sorry, Uduka, can you hear me?
I can hear you very
well. Okay, well, thank you very much. Let me also very quickly thank you for inviting me to this very important conference, and also at the same time commend the organizers and thank and congratulate Mr. Olumide Akpata and the new ESCO of the NBA for the new offices and the election, recently concluded elections. Going straight to your question, Unuka, it's what can the House of Representatives do for Nigerians? Is that what your question was in relation to the probes and the NDDC? I want to understand clearly what you're asking me.
Essentially, most parliaments are responding positively to the pandemic and putting things in place for their citizens. But our parliament is engaged in arguments over corruption in federal agencies. Can you do more to solve the people's problems and at the same time deal with the issues of corruption?
Well, let me try and unbundle your question. First of all, the Nigerian Parliament, the House of Representatives specifically, was the first one to come out of their stable in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you remember correctly, we almost immediately passed the economic stimulus bill, came out of the House of Representatives, spent some time in the Senate, but eventually came out of the Senate. And that had there were three segments to that addressed the issue and how it affected the people. It talked about moratorium on mortgages. It talked about lifting duties on medical equipment and several other aspects to it. So we were the first to do that. Secondly, the House of Representatives immediately forfeited two months of their salaries and sent to the PTF for onward distribution to the people of Nigeria. And we've been doing so much since then. Of course, the controversial infectious disease bill came out of the House of Representatives. Much as many might have gone against, much as many might have had their own personal opinion, particularly regarding the vaccine section of it, I think it was also a proactive move by the House of Representatives to do something to arrest what had become perhaps the most serious pandemic we had ever witnessed in our lifetime. But the issue of NDDC obviously had nothing to do with the pandemic. It's just something that we had to do. What you call arguing with themselves is something that happens in every parliament. We must investigate. We must hold people to account, and we must fight corruption. And probes are part of how you fight corruption. But let me very quickly say this, Nduka. I don't want to limit this, my own thoughts to COVID-19. Now, like the Vice President said, COVID-19 has actually helped us in that problem. We have been able to identify, it has amplified the problems in Nigeria. But when you talk about the state of the nation, quite honestly, unless we want to run a fool's errand or kid ourselves, the state of the nation today is the state of the nation 20 years ago. And until we understand that we've been stagnant, more or less, in the last 20 years, if you pick up the newspaper 20 years ago, you're going to find the situation about electricity as the same reporting you're going to find today. Talk about corruption 20 years ago, you'll find it on the front pages of the newspapers. And that's the same thing you're going to find today. Talk about hospitals. You find it 20 years ago in Daily Times. And that's what you're going to find today. So when you talk about the state of the nation, in whatever ramification, however you look at it, have we made progress from 20 years ago? The question is no, or rather, the answer is no. What COVID-19 has done is to bring forth into the front where we're coming from and how far we've been able to move the needle, how far we held the cards, which we haven't done. But I believe with what is going on today, all over the world, I believe the House of Representatives will continue to be proactive. The issue of economic reform, political reform, which dovetails into social reform, educational reform. Those are things that are already on the table in the House of Representatives. We have a legislative agenda, which we launched last year, but which we have updated and relaunched again about a month ago, in keeping with the times. Because when we launched our ninth House of Representatives legislative agenda, the issue of COVID-19 we were blindsided by that. Now we have updated that and tweaked it in conformity, or rather in within the scope of what the COVID-19 pandemic would allow us to do. And we actually tagged that contract with Nigerians. And why did that? We intentionally labeled that legislative agenda contract with Nigerians. If you followed it, you'll understand what I'm saying. Because we wanted Nigerians to hold us to account. So these are the things we've stated that we're going to do in the next 4 years. And so we want to be able to tick the boxes. It's a contract between us and Nigerians. And I will be more than happy to send a copy of that to the Nigerian Bar Association for onward transmission to members of the bar.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll stop at that too.
Yeah. Before I go to the Vice President, just coming back, since we're in the legislative branch, a number of the crises facing Nigeria is constitutional. If it's security, if it's policing, if it's religion, even if of economic growth. You have said it rightly, that the problems you met 20 years ago are still the problems today. Are you ready to have major constitutional reforms that will restructure the security apparatus of the country? So instead of calling for removal of service chiefs, why don't you use law to change the security apparatus of the country such that we have better governance?
Thank you very much, Nduka, once again, for a very deep question. The issue of reform, constitutional amendment, is something that's already on the table in the House of Representatives. We announced the names of members of that constitutional amendment committee, and they will set to work as soon as we resume on September 15. But prior to that, we have right now, as we speak, the Police Reform Act, which has left the National Assembly. I think it left a couple of days ago, and it's making its way slowly but surely to the president for assent. And that Reform Act is far-reaching. It actually encapsulates the issue of community police, the issue of the payment of policemen and their salaries, their allowances, and a lot of other issues that will make the policing environment a lot easier for them. On the issue of constitutional amendment, like I said, we're working on that. We're going to hit the ground running as soon as we come back. Delineation of roles. It will involve delineation of roles and responsibilities between the tiers of government, which we need to define the roles and responsibilities of the federal, the state, and the local government. We've all been mouthing federalism, but we're not actually walking that talk. And so this affords us an opportunity when we amend the Constitution to streamline what's on the exclusive list, what's on the concurrent legislative list, and what is residual to the state. And we all know that, in a true federal structure, you have very limited powers for the federal government, and everything else devolves to the state. Interestingly, I was at the Council of State meeting today, And the president alluded to something akin to that when we talked about the pandemic and COVID-19. And the president was very clear, that a lot of these responsibilities actually rest upon the states because they govern their states. But unfortunately, Nigerians, very broad strokes, are just federal government, and everything is federal government, and federal government becomes too top heavy, or rather, the country becomes too top heavy, and it makes it very difficult for you to determine, okay, who's responsible for this, who's responsible. Now, the Constitution, it's not a perfect document. There is no perfect document. The Constitution can be made even more perfect by delineating this thing clearly for those who govern and those who are governed to know whose responsibility, what belongs to the state, what belongs to the local government, and what belongs to the federal. Right now, the local governments are moribund, more or less. And if we're going to scrap them, let's scrap them. Some people believe in 2 tiers of government. Some people believe in three tiers of government. So it's for us to come together and determine what form of federalism or federal structure do we want to operate. Do we want to operate a vertical two level structure, or a 3-level vertical structure in government? I mean, we have to look at it within the ambits of our own country. But the goal must always, at all times, be to unite to the unity of our government. That's what I subscribe to. I know there's a reason why we're brought together. With some people, they believe that we're different ethnic nations, but I believe God in His infinite wisdom knows exactly why He brought us together as one country, and I think we haven't tapped into that into that yet. So for me, constitutional amendment, electoral reform, which is also going to be something that's going to be on the table as soon as we get back, electoral reform, which is very key and very fundamental, because if you don't have electoral reform, nothing is gonna stand. But let me say this: when we talk about the state of the nation, we're talking about the state of the nation in almost in a vacuum. What makes a nation? You have to ask. We'll have to ask ourselves: what is the state of the people? What is the state? When we talk about the state of the nation, everybody points at the government, and I totally agree with that. The buck stops at our desk. But the question is that you cannot have the state of a nation the way we want it if the governed themselves do not play a role. We've talked about COVID. I listened very attentively to the vice president. And he touched upon it. The government is doing whatever it can. And these are the questions we're hearing from you now. What is the government doing? What is the government doing? And the government is doing whatever. The question is this, and perhaps sometimes even more important than what the government is doing. What are the people doing? So there's some things you just cannot legislate. What are the people doing? You go out there, you see people banding together, like it never even existed. People are not wearing masks. I was on the streets yesterday, and I was shocked to my bone marrow. People were not wearing face masks. People were banding together like they never heard there was some disease out there. So how do you? So my point is that there's both the government and the government have a role to play. They complement each other, but the government can only do so much. The relationship has to be symbiotic for everybody to feed off of each other. Let the government know what it's supposed to do. Let the government know and listen to directives as put out there by the government. So there's the issues abound. There's so much we need to do. We're a country of almost 200 people. That's a very, very difficult number to manage. But if all hands are on deck, we'll complement our efforts. And going back to your earlier question and your allusion to NDC, sometimes I read reports, I read the social media, I read reports from the people of Nigeria, and I wonder, you leave the main issue and you start chasing shadows. Now it's about the National Assembly and whether contracts were given or contracts were not given. But what was the issue in the first place? I mean, it's a clever way of distracting from the main issue, which is how is the NDDC run? Is there corruption in the NDDC? Are we getting good value for the money that comes into NDDC? For me, those are the main issues. Everything else and anything else is tangential. And so I'll leave it at that and wait for the next question.
Thank you very much, and thank you, the Right Honorable Femi Gbajagbiamila. Now it's a privilege again to have the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You are the Chairman of the National Economic Council. And the pandemic, which is the state of the world now, has hit many economies. In the UK, it's a contraction of about 20% to GDP. In the US, at the point, it was 40%. In South Africa, the Parliament or the Central Bank governor announced today that there will be a 40% hit to the GDP. And Nigeria only had 6%. Will you say we have gone through the worst and that we should expect better? And after that, I will deal with the questions of governance. Mr. VP, thank you so much.
Thank you very much again, Nduka. And let me say first that, of course, in comparison to other economies, we have fared somewhat better in terms of the contraction to GDP. Just as you pointed out, several of the comparator countries or the countries that we compare ourselves to have, in terms of contraction, been much worse than we have. And so there's a sense in which we can feel happy, a bit happier with ourselves, I suppose. But again, we mustn't forget that economies like politics is local. So you have to concern yourself with your own problems and with your own issues. I mean, well, while it's helpful for us to say, well, in the UK, contraction was minus 20% of GDP, in France, minus 14, in Germany, minus 10, in Israel, minus 29, South Africa is even projected to be between 20 and 50%. Well, we can say so. And Nigeria is only minus 6%. The truth and the reality is what the people feel. Obviously today, there is a considerable anxiety. There's an economic decline of the sort that affects everyone. It affects services. It affects even lawyers. I mean, lawyers will tell you that they are going through very difficult times, let alone other people in different services and all that. So the truth of the matter is that our contraction of minus 6% is good, it's better than others, but it is still only part of the story. The real story, of course, is that we are experiencing a severe economic decline. We're experiencing a severe decline in domestic resources, in tax, etc. We're experiencing a severe decline in employment. So there are many, many job losses. So our response to that is really what I think is important. And that is, first, we are concerned with saving jobs, and we're concerned with creating other jobs. And the way we've chosen to go about this, and especially as part of the economic sustainability plan, is by ensuring or by insisting in the plan that we will focus on local industry, local production, using local resources. So for example, our mass agricultural program is one that we expect will bring in loads of jobs. We're looking at, in every state, bringing between 30 and 100,000 hectares of land under cultivation. And we're bringing in that many new farmers. As a matter of fact, as of today, we've registered over 5 million farmers, and we have actually attached them to their land. So we have GIS that shows who the farmer is, where his land is. And what we're doing also is that these farmers, these small farmers, are now aggregated under some of our partners who are more like anchors. So we have partners, huge partners like Bobangona, like Thrive Agric, like like Thrive Agric, who are big partners like Olam, who already have big farms. Now, these big farm owners are already established, and what they do is that they act as anchors to the small farmers. So to some extent, they guarantee that the small farmers will produce and they will offtake what the small farmers produce. And we have quite a few of these the huge farmers who are taking on the smaller farmers. And government then becomes the off-taker of last resort, or the purchaser of last resort. So in the event that some of this produce cannot be bought, government will buy. This is just to ensure that production continues, to ensure that the agricultural sector is well resourced. We're also, of course, concerned with losses, with losses in the cause of, especially in the value chain. All sorts of severe losses, as you know. Sometimes we lose up to 40% of production in the farms. So we're trying to ameliorate that as well as we look at the entire value chain. So we're concerned also with ensuring that the value chain is much stronger, so that jobs are created all along the line. Agri-production is a serious part of the work that we're trying to do. That is for agriculture. Then we have mass housing. This again focuses on local materials. We're looking at about 300,000 housing units, low-cost housing units. And we're thinking, and today we already have a plan, we already have a design that will be able to bring in a small 2-bedroom apartment for 2 million naira, or under 2 million naira. As a matter of fact, we're looking at between 1.8 million and 2 million naira. Now, how do we intend to do this? First is by ensuring that as much as possible, we use local materials and local resources. So doors, nails, window frames, etc., we will source locally. Of course, blocks and all of that will source locally. We have cement, all of those will be sourced locally. Each site would have, as it were, its own systems production unit, where people are making blocks, those who are making doors, making window frames, etc. We'll provide facilities in some cases for the production of some of these things. And our Family Homes Fund, as well as the Ministry of Housing, is actively engaged in doing this. We already have 11 states that have given up land for this purpose, and we're looking at getting more land from each of the individual states in order to be able to do this. But what I want to emphasize is that this is about local production. It is about local resources. The contractors who will be building the land will be small businesses, that will register on, online in the different states. So these small businesses, these small building construction companies, not the huge ones, will be the ones who will be taking batches of houses and build, batches of houses across the country, so that we can actively engage young engineers, young surveyors, young builders, etc., who at this point may be out of work. Then we have a solar home system as well, solar home systems project as well. As you know, with the support of the World Bank, we are putting in 5 million homes, solar home systems in 5 million homes. Now that means a huge number of jobs. First, in the assembly of the home systems locally, before we begin any sort of manufacturing, we don't have that capacity yet. And then in the installation and in the running of the payment systems of these solar home systems as well. Well, so we think that this will also create an immense amount of jobs. So really, I think that our response to the pandemic is one that's, I believe, is robust. As you know, we're putting 2.3 million in terms of a stimulus package. And just to understand this 2.3 million, it's not all cash. It's not as if all of that cash is available. About 1.2 trillion of it is in the form of loans and facilities supported by the CBN, to be given, for example, for the solar home systems project, for the housing project, for the agriculture project as well. These are loans directly to farmers, loans directly to manufacturers, and to provide offtake facilities as well. So here, I think our response is robust. We need to move quickly. We need speed, and I think that with what we have in place, we really can respond in the best possible way to this, and not think that our circumstances are much better than other countries. As a matter of fact, we are in relatively dire straits, and I think that we must respond in that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. Just to dig a bit deeper, your government came with the mantra of corruption, fighting corruption. Why do you find it so difficult to fire or sack apparently corrupt ministers? And Mr. Vice President, can you carry out a forensic audit without forensic auditors?
Well, I'm not entirely certain what your last comment means. I'd like to understand it before.
No, the last question, you say you are doing an audit of NDDC.
Oh, I see.
Forensic audit. So can you have a forensic audit with no known forensic auditor?
Well, just yesterday, let me start with that.